The Eagles are here in L.A. Obviously, plenty of Eagles fans will be at SoFi Stadium to see, as you and I are talking here, Sean McVay announces Cooper Kupp on the field. Cooper Kupp will be on the field and active for the Rams in his first action of 2020, or 2023, I beg your pardon. Joe Noteboom, probably not. Don't know, rather, than Joe Noteboom. Alaric Jackson, probably not at left tackle. Anyway, Eagles, Rams, Ross, your thoughts?
Well, that's huge that they're going to have Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
Because you can argue the most influx position right now for the Eagles is the nickel corner, right? They lost Devontae Maddox for the season. They signed Bradley Roby this week. They've been putting Bradbury in there a little bit. So whether it's Tutu Atwell or Puka Nacua or Cooper Kupp, they're going to attack whoever the Eagles have playing nickel corner. I mean, that's going to be the hot spot. The other thing, it's funny, Andrew, and you'll appreciate this. I'm so impressed by the Rams coaching staff. I asked 10 people this week, 10, if they could name a single defensive player for the Rams other than Aaron Donald. 0 for 10. Not one person I talked to,
Ross,
can name a defensive player for the Rams other than Aaron Donald, and yet their defense is playing their you-know-what's off.
It's funny you say that, because for those who don't know, and I don't know why anybody would know, but many, many years ago, Ross and I had a preseason together. I've done the Rams for 13 years. During the summer, Ross was in our booth, and he was great, obviously, back in St. Louis one year. Years ago. I did the same thing this summer, Ross. I would give people the second. I would say, I'll give you Aaron Donald and Ernest Jones, because I think he's a good player, ascending player, young player, middle linebacker. I will give you those two. Now name somebody else. Nobody could name another player. Kobe Durant, I think some people should name, right? John Johnson III is back, but he's never getting on the field. I mean, he's basically, he's not a healthy scratch, but he's out there. He's really only playing teams, and that defense has played well. I think the big thing here, and I want to clarify, Joe Noteboom is out. Alaric Jackson should play at left tackle. My big thing is, can the Eagles just run it down their throats? And, you know, do they just kill them in the run game?
Well, what's so interesting is, there's a lot of consternation in Philadelphia because they don't look quite as good as they did last year when they were rolling people. I mean, they're still 4-0. I mean, they're one of two undefeated teams. But last year, it seemed like they had the run game and the pass game going almost every game, Andrew. This year, it's like if the defense takes away the run, then like last week, then they can throw it. If the defense takes away the pass, then they will run it down your throat. But they haven't really gotten both clicking at the same time. I'm also really curious to see the Eagles' defensive line, the depth they have, although it sounds like Fletcher Cox might not play, the depth they have is really, really impressive. Imagine this, Andrew. Imagine every game you play, every time you take the field, at the start of the game, you have the better O-line and D-line. That's the Eagles in pretty much every game they play. It's like they start every game on third base. You know that expression? Mm-hmm. That's the way it is in pro football if you have the better O-line and D-line. And a lot of times it's the much better O-line and D-line. And usually over the course of 4 quarters, that plays itself out.
Yeah. Rams O-line has gone through a lot of shuffling in the offseason and had to shuffle again when on Monday night in Cincinnati, they lost Alaric Jackson. They didn't move Joe Noteboom to left tackle. They did put Noteboom finally at left tackle last week against Indianapolis and had some success, but that was the biggest issue for them last year. They couldn't keep Matthew Stafford upright, and they had 12 different O-line combinations the first 12 weeks of last year, all because of injuries. And they had firmly believed all summer that if they could find the right combination, lock it in, and keep Stafford upright, that the offense would be okay. And for the most part, they have been validated through 4 weeks. The record's 2-2. It is what it is. This one is huge, certainly, for the Rams. Flip to the Bears here. What do you make of their dilemma? And I say dilemma because Carolina is still winless, and the Bears are still not good, and they still will have, we think, plenty of draft capital in the top 5. Their dilemma with Justin Fields, because the guy from the last 2 weeks is the guy that they hoped they were drafting. But they don't get that guy for a myriad of reasons every week.
Well, but they have gotten that guy the last 2 weeks,
Correct.
right? And that's the most recent sample size. You know, I know we want to talk about these things now, and we should. They played last night. I totally get it. But the beauty of this is it's going to declare itself.
Yep.
And what I would argue, Andrew, is if at the end of the year it still hasn't declared itself one way or the other, then it has. You know what I mean? Like, if at the end of this year you're not saying Fields is the guy, we want him moving forward, maybe even give him a contract extension, then they probably will strongly consider drafting someone again. I would just say this, with the way he's played the last 2 games and with the physical ability that he possesses, and by all accounts, he's a very smart young man, I guess I just don't understand. I mean, if he keeps playing even close to this, I think it's tough to move on from that, because how do you know if you move on that you're not getting Zach Wilson, or you're not getting Trey Lance, or you're not getting, somebody that's worse than Justin Fields. So if he plays, like the way he played the last couple games, I think you feel good about that and you build on it and you use your pick and use Carolina's pick on making the team better around him, like they did with DJ Moore, who, by the way, made a gigantic difference last night, obviously.
Do you think he was in on that would-be 4th touchdown? Did you get a view on the sideline from where you were?
No, and I don't really understand that. Now, we didn't see him go out of bounds at all, and I'm more focused on the field than I am the monitors, just because of the setup there, and you've been there. FedEx Field, you're kind of in the corner, and I never saw him go out of bounds. The officials are right there, so typically on stuff like that, I give those guys the benefit of the doubt. I guess I'm a little surprised. I'm not sure, how it works, Andrew, or what happened in the game. Did you guys at home, did you ever get a really good or definitive angle? It's like I saw him running down the sideline, but I never saw the white of the sideline.
We never saw that down the line sideline angle. We never did. And from the TV, from the normal angle that you see on TV, the DB's coming over, and the DB is blocking your standard view when DJ runs by. We never got the angle, and the conspiracy theorists online were saying, well, they don't want to show you the angle because they don't want to prove that it was an inadvertent whistle and prove that he really never stepped out of bounds. Kind of like Amari Cooper a couple of weeks ago against the Titans. He clearly was in bounds. They blew the whistle. They had the angle. Everyone and their uncle, Gene Steratore, can pipe in and say, awful call. That last night they were trying to avoid that. I do not subscribe to that. I don't think the craziness goes that far. The cover-up goes that far. The official said that he was out of bounds. So be it. But DJ thought he was clearly in bounds.
Yeah, you know what I think is crazy? That I don't know how much the TV guys, Alan Kirk, talked about this. I'm really surprised at the end of the game when it's 30-20 that on 3rd and 2 that the Bears threw the ball. I mean, first of all, that they threw it. And then secondly, Fuller had great coverage on DJ Moore.
Yeah.
I mean, Andrew, that was close to a pick six. That was like 3 inches from a pick six. Like, I couldn't believe they threw it. And then I couldn't believe Fields tried to make that throw. And then, DJ Moore ends up going all the way down for a touchdown, and he's got the huge night for fantasy and setting Bears records. But, I mean, that was a gutsy call by Getsy, and I would argue a reckless throw by Fields to even attempt that in that situation with Fuller sitting on that route.
Well, think of the disaster that's possible there, Ross. You said it could have been a pick six. Justin has a little bit of a long delivery. Okay, he also kind of stared it down even with a quick drop. I mean, that had all the makings of if it does go back pick six. Here's why we don't like Justin Fields, right?
Yeah.
He stares the guy down. The ball doesn't come out nearly as quickly, whether mentally or physically, as it should come out. And then, bam, it's a different ball game. But no, DJ Moore caught it, went through Fuller's hands. DJ Moore can high step those last 10 yards.